once again, talking small press comics. This is episode 17.
Oh my
And
gosh, already?
with us today is Tom Fellrath.
Fellrath.
We're excited about that. And,
hey guys.
I think you got, Steve, I think you prepared a number of questions. I got a couple things. So
I got a lot of
the ball
questions.
rolling. You go ahead and
Maybe
ask the first question.
Too many questions. I think I get carried away. But
That's good. No.
Holy
We'll
cow.
give them a good grilling.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
happy that I'm just happy that you guys talked to Larry Johnson and Tony Lorenz first, because get the true talent out of the way before you start talking to us second stringers. Okay.
But you kind of know what to expect now. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be devastating. It'll ruin your entire professional life.
This will ruin your career. Yeah. That's one of those things.
It's been fun. What can I say? Thanks, guys.
I want to say something because Tom and I have known each other since way back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
I have some issues of, we'll get to that, but I have some issues of his comics from 1988. He was in the United Fanzine organization back in that day. And, Tom kind of, he kind of vanished. He went his separate ways from small press, and he raised a family. He's got an amazing family. I've seen pictures of them on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And, but great to see you back, Tom. It's really great to see you back.
Never would have thought it would have happened, but
Really?
It's been an absolute blast since I've come back. So thank you for the warm welcome. And thank you, Steve. Thank you for the invite to get back into the mix. It was literally you saying, Tom, you ought to start making comics again. I'm like, yeah, okay, why not?
It was an honor, I mean, you popped up one day and I was like, yeah, Tom, you need to start making comics again. And by golly, you've been doing it. You've made some great stuff.
Oh my God.
It was a short period of time, and we'll get into that. Okay, so we're going to get to the interview questions. How did you first discover small press, and what prompted you to begin publishing your own comics?
Okay, are we talking, and you see this is like the Rip Van Winkle part of it, which is like I did the stuff back in the 80s, and now I'm doing stuff here in the 2020s.
Well,
so which part do you
we'll
want to
get
know?
to that later, but what prompted, how did you find out about,
How did you discover small press?
How did I get started in small press? Well, two things. And I'm pulling a book out so I can show you. First and foremost, I was at the time, and I'm currently living in Columbus, Ohio. At the time, I lived in Worcester, Massachusetts, just outside of Worcester, right in central Massachusetts. And there is a comic shop there called That's Entertainment. And the owner of the shop at the time, I think he's since retired, was a guy named Paul Howley. And Paul had at his comic shop, where I was buying my Fantastic Fours and Teen Titans and Alpha Flights and all of those, he had these funny little books. And I've got them in bags now, but this is Insect Man. Okay.
Oh, that's one of them. Cool.
And Insect Man is, and here's a fancier one. This was the 100th issue with a cover by Willie Blyberg. Insect Man was a character that Paul created back when he was like a teen, or maybe even younger. And he's just kept on doing it and doing it and doing it over the years. And so he has these on sale at the shop, and it was what, 35 cents, 50 cents for the big book. And I'm like, okay, I'll look at this. And so it looked kind of interesting. He then he says, there's some high school kids from Worcester. I was from West Boylston, one of the burbs. And so there's this guy named Matt Kanarakis who was an artist. And he said, do you like to do this type of stuff? I go, I have no idea. So he introduces me to Matt, and we start doing stuff together, which we'll get to. But then the other big thing that happened out at That's Entertainment is this.
Yeah.
Small Press Comics Explosion number 6.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like, this thing was nuts. It cost $1.
Yeah.
And it probably had about 40 or so pages in it of newsprint, and the tiniest little typewriter type you could ask for, and all of these news and ads and reviews. And
We're ready for that. We prepared for
There you
that.
go.
So.
totally,
how we read it.
absolutely. And the publisher at the time, the late Tim Corrigan,
Yeah.
put this thing out monthly, and it was amazing. And I
It
mean,
was
again,
astounding, astounding.
absolutely. Think about it. This teenager who only understands Marvel and DC, not quite sure about that Eclipse comics or First comics. They're a little squirrely, but he sees this magazine, and it's like all this weird stuff that you've never seen before. You're like, I got to try this. And of course, I get in with Matt, and Paul encouraged us to make our books. And then we started selling them at a store, and one thing leads to the other, and we're doing small press, and we're in the United Fanzine organization. And it was just crazy. We had a lot of fun.
It's amazing how many people are doing this because of what Tim did way back then. It's
his legacy. Oh, his legacy is
It's
without
true.
compare.
It's amazing. He was an old friend of mine, and Tim picked up the torch after Kevin Collier. Kevin Collier started that. What was it called? Fandom World, but it was a news and reviewsing.
Okay.
And but Kevin kind of bowed out, and Tim just took it over. But he just magnified it. He made it, and it's amazing how many people that he brought into small press, that he brought into the comics creative self-publishing network. Truly amazing.
Steve, can I ask a question? Did Collier go through comic shops as well? Because this was a straight up, probably, Diamond or whomever distributor magazine. It came out with just the regular monthly books. Did Collier do that, or was that a Tim thing?
I don't know about that. I don't think that Kevin went to Diamond and all. I remember when I was with Tim at the Chicago Con in like 1986, and we went to an independent comics a panel, and Diamond was not resurrected, but they were represented there, and there was a lot of talk about promoting books through these independent publishers. The independent boom was incredible. It's one thing that brought small press comics explosion to such a great degree of acceptance and interest, and it ended way too soon. I don't think Kevin went that far. And I hate to say this, but I think Kevin was a little bit envious. He was a good guy, and he published some great comics, and they were very flattering because you'd read about yourself and your comics, and he didn't differentiate, like you're in a small press, you're in the comic, the mainstream or whatever. He gave everybody their due. Your books are great, and he said it, and he promoted it, and
cool.
Tim just took that to a greater degree.
I never had any idea that Tim had that distributed through, Diamond. I had no idea he ever.
Well, it wasn't Diamond. There were like a handful of distributors at the time. Diamond was just one of them, but still, he ran that magazine through comic shops, and then he switched it to a newspaper format, and I mean that's how it really blew up.
He would go door to door. He would go when he came here to visit me in Orlando. We went to a local comic shop. We went to a couple of them, and Tim just had his comics, and he had SPCE, and he just wanted to talk to the owners. And he said, "This is what I got. You're not going to make a lot of money from it, but if you could distribute this, I'd really appreciate. Or if you could put it on your shelves." And he would go door to door. He did it himself.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
And you did something too. You did fandom.
I did
fandom, which was clearly inspired by what Tim and others had done. I just happened to have 2 or 3 issues of that right here. I know.
Well, let's go even further. This is the original. This is a mini comic size. This was issue 1. And Matt and I basically did most of it, but Jim Main helped us out a lot with the reviews.
Jim
And
Maine.
then we had other contributors. Dale Martin had an ongoing piece in it. I'm trying to think. We had a couple other guys who helped. A lot of spot illustrations. Quentin Hoover, who did these covers, the Warlord and the Catwoman, and Doctor Strange.
This is Quentin Hoover. Yeah, I got that one right here.
Yeah, and then
I still have select from 1988.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, he did all those covers because I mean Quentin was amazing. But yeah, we had lots of help doing this. So it's just say like I did fandom, not really. It was really Matt and I did a lot of fandom, but we had so many helpers to make it this bigger product. And yeah, it was created in part because Tim had to stop publishing SPCE.
Yeah, it got to be too much.
Yeah,
he actually offered me. He offered me the chance to continue publishing it, and I'm like, this is way more than I'm capable of doing. I don't know how he did it.
You write all those reviews and make them different, you know. And of course, Tim didn't pull any punches either. If it was going in a trash can, he would tell you that.
Indeed,
and people still, you know, that didn't affect anything. They still loved what he did. But anyway, I can't see how you could write that many reviews. I just don't know how he did it.
Yeah, he was just a machine. Just incredible what he was doing. And we were.
How long did fandom run? How long did you do that? Was it monthly or what?
I think we were like every other month.
Every other month?
Yeah, he's like on number 4 here. Yeah. Okay, number 3 says August, September, and then we had October, November. So we got it to 5 issues. And quite frankly, I was a junior turning senior at the time in high school.
Wow.
Matt had actually gone off to Boston University. And so we were trying to make it work, and you know,
pretty hard.
Let's be honest, guys. When you're hitting senior year of high school, your thoughts are on college. And in my case, it was girls and cars.
Girls, yeah. I knew that was coming in there somewhere. But
as they say, it's the fumes. It's the fumes. It's the perfumes. It's the car fumes. You know, you get sucked in by the fumes and you go off and do everything else. So yeah, I ended up just giving it over to Matt, and Matt did it for an issue and threw up his arms, and
yeah, you were really young. I mean, you were just a teenager when you were doing this stuff. And the thing is, all these years later, you still look so young, you know?
Okay, let's there. No, I don't.
I don't think you look a day over 65, honestly.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Hey, I'll be a day over 65 tomorrow.
Wow.
Just
really
to tell you guys, tomorrow's my birthday. I'll be 66.
Oh,
congratulations.
Happy
early birthday.
Yeah, I got some dye for this mustache. It's coming out. I told you it's coming in white and gray, but we'll fix that.
Gotta get it back, Steve. You gotta get it back so you look like Steve.
Right.
Well, are we kind of getting up to what's going on recently here?
Not yet.
Oh, you still got something else? Okay.
Because Tom did other stuff back in those days, and one of the great comics that he published back in those days was Heroic. Yeah. I think Jim Maine also published a Heroic, you know, by his, you know, but
I think the one in your right hand is Jim's. Mine is the one with the Rocketeer cover by Alan Freeman.
Is that right? Did I accidentally grab one of Jim's?
That's all right. If you want to see mine, where are mine? Mine are here. So
you're right. You're right. This one is
1.
from Jim Maine. See, that's the thing. It was around the same time, and Jim also published Heroic, but I'm not sure who published it first. Or
Jim went first. Jim went first, and I actually asked him for permission to use the title. And he said yes. I hear he's going to revive it though. So my planned revival of Heroic means it's not going to be heroic because Jim's doing it, and he's Jim. So so I'm going to give him that. But I had a lot of fun with this book. This was a hero anthology. I really liked and still kind of like the hero genres. So here's one, number 2. And then it got interesting around 3. This issue was the old Captain Confederacy book that was put out by Steel Dragon Press, I believe, back in the day. And that was an independent comic. And so I did an interview, and then the artist, Vince Stone, gave me a cover and gave me some spot illustrations. Number 4, one of my favorite stories, Laserdisc, by myself and Dave Trice.
Laserdisc. Yeah, you revived him recently. Or you actually reprinted one of his tables, his stories.
Not yet. I've got a story with him. He said he's interested in doing it, but I'm finding it's weird. You know, when you're 16 years old, you have a lot of time to do everything, and when you're
Is this the guy?
Yep, that's the guy.
Okay, well, so he did pop up recently.
Yes.
It's only in a spot illo.
Yes. Did a little Japanese animation inspired stuff. I interviewed 2 of the secondary artists on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And this was just as the licensing was going to take off. And the interview is hysterical because I've said in there, like, seriously, you think people are really going to buy turtle stuff? And this guy's like, oh yeah, we got millions of things going on. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Well,
they just showed you the potential of small press, because I remember when that was small press.
Yep. And then number 7, the last one.
So yeah,
you did all the writing. Who were some of the artists that worked on those books?
I did not do all the writing. Basically, I did some of it, and then other people did their own. Donald Tenney had a vampire piece that ran through there. I'm trying to think. This was Mark Barnard, the Japanese animation one. That was totally his.
He wrote number 7 with a Chuck Haspel and Alan Freeman cover.
Yes.
And there's a story featuring my character, the Beacon.
Yep.
Drawn by me and illustrated by Steve Shipley. It's never been published anywhere else. It was only there.
But in addition to that, we had Larry Blake's Night Star.
Larry Blake was in it too.
Yeah.
And I think, if memory serves correct, well, we have Clint, we have your piece, we have Accelerator. Okay, maybe it's another issue.
Accelerator.
There was another issue. Jeff Wood gave me a Snow Bunny story for one of them. And so we had some really great contributors. And again, it was just so much fun.
Yeah. And your job was to put it all together, right?
Yep. I was the paste up guy, the printer, the mailer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wrote a few stories.
Pasted up? Is that how it was done? And then copied?
Yeah. In those days.
Amazing.
I'm old school, so I still do some stuff kind of like that.
Really?
Yep.
I use a glue stick.
Yep, glue stick and Scotch tape.
Yeah, well, of course.
I got some glue stick right here, folks.
I used to use a program from Microsoft called Microsoft Publisher, which was a great program. I mean, it would assemble the pages and then print them out properly and all that.
Yep. And now I'm using Adobe InDesign and Photoshop, and just amazing what you can do these days. I mean, little old me making books that look like The Patriot and the Heroes Past and that stuff. Strange times. Who knew?
You've actually gone beyond what I'm doing. I'm still rather old school, but I was out of small press for a long time. When I got back in, it was like, whoa, what is this? People are doing stuff I never could do before. And, I'm still doing it the old fashioned way, and I'm still learning. I'm still catching up. Apparently you did some catching up in between somewhere along the line.
You must have.
Actually,
did you work anywhere where you needed those skills, or what?
Did a little bit of web design for one of my employers back in the day, but not a lot. Truthfully, guys, this book took months to make.
Wow.
And I learned everything on this.
Okay.
And this is awesome. It reprints, a lot of the stuff from Heroic and your zines way back then.
Yep.
And also there's some new stuff in here, and there's some stuff that was unpublished and unfinished at the time.
Yeah.
And you had
And
the
that-
Patriot.
And that was Matt.
That was Matt?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yep. Well, those were in Matt's files. That's the
Uh-huh.
piece by Donald Tenney and inked by Brian Waters.
Brian Waters, he was a great talent. I missed that guy. It's been a long time. He was an old
Yeah.
UFO member too.
Well,
You had the Patriot back then.
And part of the fun of that book was I wanted to get back into the scene, and I wanted to use my characters, but I figured nobody knew who the characters were. So let's put them all together and reprint them and say, okay, here we are, and then we'll get started with the next, with the new stories.
Reintroduce the characters, yeah.
But to do it, in fairness, you have to ask the people who did this stuff with you. So I had to track down everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally one of the creators was like, I think I may have actually put the print order in when I finally got in touch with the guy. I had given up. But it was
been a long time.
But yeah, I mean, so I gotten back in touch with Matt. Matt goes up into his attic and he starts dragging down everything, and he's sending me scan after scan. He's like, oh yeah, we got this unfinished book. You want to do that? I'm like, yes, yes.
This was recently? This was recent contact with Matt Kanarakis?
Absolutely.
Just
within
recently.
Within the last year, yeah.
Oh, interesting to know. What maybe you can drag him back in too. He's been missing for a long time, and obviously he was a great influence and a great contributor.
I'm not as persuasive as you, Steve.
Okay. Send me his address and I'll talk to him.
I'll send you more than that.
This is just amazing what you did with this book. All the layout and everything, was that all your ideas and the way you laid it out? And it's just amazing.
Well, I thank you.
In here, and then you go to, when you get back here, you change it up and put them on white on black.
Yeah.
Kind of
and there are two versions of this book.
Yes, but the commentary, what he did with the commentary is just amazing to me.
It is.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
I mean, that was a lot of work. I had to be. It
actually went. That part went real fast. I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you the story there.
Okay.
It was my goal with the original book, the non-commentary edition, that I was going to crowdfund this thing, and I was going to run it through Kickstarter and see if I could just push the sales as high as I could reasonably expect. And so what I've done over the last year since I've gotten into small press stuff is I've noticed that the Kickstarter community, which is self-publishing, and the small press community, which is self-publishing, really isn't that different. And so I sent PDFs of the book that Tony and I were working on to a handful of people whose books were stylistically in line with what I thought Patriot was going to be. And I said, let me know what you think. Give me a pithy, gosh, this book is awesome type thing that I can use for promotional, literature and websites and stuff. So I asked about 5 or 6 guys. More than half wrote back and said, it is not a good book.
That's great.
And they said, wow. They said your money would be better spent elsewhere.
Really?
Rather than trying to do this. Woo. And I'm like thinking, oh,
somebody missed a point somewhere along the line there.
Well, yes, Steve, you're right. And that literally, that statement you just said is why I did this, the commentary edition. Commentary edition. There we go. I'm bad with my camera. I wanted to explain it. These guys who I kind of respected because they made nice comics. they didn't get it. And
No,
I'm thinking,
absolutely not. This is a great book.
and I'm like, if you don't understand the ideas behind it, and it's actually kind of multi-layered, you know, you got the whole issue of the vintage character with the young sidekick, and you know, you've got the whole issue of flying through the Cold War, almost Forrest Gump style. But then I also went, and I even took it as far when I was writing it, as to kind of put the like a Gen X type hat on Jeff, the character, and then have Patriot be more of like a baby boomer, and talking about how my Gen X generation actually got dragged along into a lot of nasty stuff by baby boomer decision making. And so I wanted to show kind of, you know, the impact. And then at the end, of course, you've got the unrepentant character saying, you know, I'll do it again. And I'm thinking, that's not me, but I know a heck of a lot of people who did that type of stuff, and who still feel that way. That, you know, yeah, I would go into Iraq and fight Saddam Hussein again.
It's a powerful book.
Yeah,
Powerful
knowing what
book.
we know, we do it again.
But you're all right. When you read the first one without the commentary, you better think a little bit while you're reading it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I think some people want to read a comic book real quick. You know, yours, you better think about it, what the story is about, so you understand it. And I like that. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. This is what happens when you've got about 30 odd years of storytelling kind of bottled up inside you. And your kids are sitting about 10 to 15 feet away doing at-home learning while COVID was going on.
Okay.
And your job literally is to sit in the easy chair and be hall monitor. And it was painful. I had to do something. And so I wrote this script.
Yeah.
And it just kept going and going. And, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like diarrhea of the pen. It's just kept rolling out. But it ended up being a real interesting story.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it actually helped it. In a way, it was a self-help type thing. It helped me think through what has happened over the course of my life. You know, I was born in 71. You know, I kind of came of age, like emotionally, if you will, as a teenager. So I started in with Jeff as a teenager and just kind of rode that wave all the way through. But yeah, the commentary edition had to happen so I could just get it off my chest to say, you didn't get it, guys.
Well, I mean, it's just,
so I'm going to explain the
not only is a commentary, it has, you know, the pencils in there and all that.
A lot of
And
fascinating
stroke
stuff.
of genius putting all that in there with it.
Well, I don't know about genius. What the genius was, it's not me, it's Tony and it's Larry. And
Tony Lorenz did an outstanding job. One of his artwork, I think, some of the best I've ever seen from Tony.
All right.
Can you imagine, Steve, for about
Larry Johnson's cover? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like 6 to 7 months, every day or two, you would get a fresh version of a page from Tony, and you couldn't tell anybody about it. It was great.
I imagine.
I couldn't come up with new exclamations.
Tony, he's so talented. He has so much energy. I've been working with him for a long time, and he gets better and better. He improves like fine wine with age, and
the guy's amazing. He's amazing, and he has
amazing his output. So prolific,
and he is dedicated to the project, and he puts his ego aside. And I tried to put my ego aside, but of course I'm the writer, so you know. But
it looks like the Patriot is a dunner. He's a goner at the end of this. I don't want to give. I'm sorry if I'm giving out the ending to anybody, but I don't think that's the ending. I think there's more to this story.
Yeah.
And you got, you know, the young sidekick here, and then for
so
America.
Can I go back to the process? Can I go back to that process stuff?
Yes, indeed.
Larned
This is your interview.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Larry, or excuse me, not Larry. Tony is sending me all these pages, and I am saving them onto my hard drive. So I literally have every layout page, every pencil page, every ink page. I got it all on my hard drive. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, Tony deserves better. You know, it's a fine book. He deserves, if I'm going to go ahead and do all this commentary stuff, I want to insert some pages and just share a glimpse of what I got for like 9 months.
That was great. Yeah, I love that.
To be able to share
Yeah.
that. And then Larry, the same thing. Larry puts up with my garbage. I'm just throwing out word salad at him, trying to come up with something, you know, for a cover, and saying, Larry, I got everything going on in this. You know, can you turn it into one picture? And
you really can't top this.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was great. Yeah,
it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. He did a wonderful job. And so I wanted to give both of those guys their due, and I thought that would be the way to do it.
Well, it was a great move. I hope the book did well or is doing well, because great book, really.
It's doing well enough. It has reached the people I wanted to reach.
Yeah.
Except for those 5 or 6 guys.
Oh, those guys. They're
they're
never
not
enjoy anything.
What are you most proud of? Is it the Patriot? Is this the most proud, or what is the most proud thing that you are of the publications you've done over the years?
Wow. I think probably pride is kind of a weird thing. I mean, probably the thing that I'm proudest of is the first book I ever did, The Light. And that was done. That was Matt's Synapse Comics back in 86, 87, I believe. I mean, to make the jump, to go from being a reader to being a creator, it's kind of a challenge, and it's a fun challenge. And once you get past that hump, you realize how easy it is. But I think probably now, the Patriot stuff was good. And it was a huge, huge undertaking, and I can't understate that. But truthfully, I've got to say, rebuilding the relationships with Heroes Past.
Yeah.
I mean, to get new material from Matt Canarakis and Anthony Gray and Dale Martin and
Anthony Gray, yeah, Dale
Scott
Martin,
McClung, and I mean, and then to put together this book. I mean, think about it. When you're a teenager and you're drawing this stuff on notebook paper, you know, these funny stories with, you know, overly misshapen superheroes and all that, and you get a chance as an adult to make your own little omnibus. I mean, this is it. This is every hero story I wrote as a teen.
Wow.
Everything. And so does it get better? I don't know.
I think it's going to get better because your work is getting better. Your publishing, your writing, everything is getting better, and you gave it that long gap where you weren't doing anything small press, and now you've come back in a way that has really impressed Larned and me, and I'm sure a lot of other folks.
Yeah.
Well, that's really kind. Thank you.
Very impressive.
What at this moment, what are your future publishing plans?
Well, Anthony Gray sees this book come by and says, "You think maybe you and I could do one of those?"
Yeah.
And I said,
There
"Absolutely."
you go.
Absolutely.
There's a great talent right there, Anthony Gray. Yeah.
So he currently has a 30-ish page script for The Light. We're going to bring him into the modern day.
Oh my gosh.
And that's going to be, it was a fun challenge. It's a lot easier for me to write the historical political stuff than it is to write a Batman. And so, or he's like a Batman, Spider-Man, Punisher type guy. And so that was a challenge. So that's going on. Patriot, I doubt it's probably any surprise. Tony and I are back at it again. We're going to chunk it out this time, and we're doing. I've got, and in fact, I just today did this. I finished the script on the second chapter. It's going to be a 4-chapter, 8-page per chapter thing, and that's going to go in my next Heroes Now anthology, which is going to get started. Speaking of Heroes Now, Scott McClung has finished. He finished an 8 or 9 pager for the Accelerator character which was a teenage girl who kind of did the Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan thing, goes into a particle accelerator and then becomes like the Flash. So that's done. And I'm going to be releasing that book, which probably also, knowing Tony and his speed, it sounds like he's going to have the first chapter of the Patriot story. So we're going to package those together and make that the first Heroes Now, and that's going to get released at Space at the end of May.
Oh my gosh! There's I know you're going to space. You said you're going to space, right?
Yep.
There's a possibility I might be there. I'm waiting to hear from Gary Barker and George Lane if they can work it out.
Mr. Keeter, if you can find your way there, I will pull up an extra chair at my table for you.
I appreciate that. What were you saying, Larned?
Huh?
What were you saying?
I don't know. I don't know what I was saying. I wasn't saying
Larned,
anything.
Larned,
Although it was important, even though I don't know what I was saying.
What he was saying and what he was thinking is that it's an honor to be here interviewing you. And
yeah, we really appreciate your doing this.
Oh, and I forgot one more real quick one. Hologram.
Oh yeah, counting the days.
And I haven't even talked about that. This was my reaction to writing the long story of Patriot and realizing it was going to take forever to do. Chunk out this little tiny 8-page mini comic into 12 chapters. And so we've got 4 down. I've got 8 to go. My artist, William Cattle, he got hit real hard with COVID.
Ooh.
Like really hard. And so he's still struggling his way back. And
wow.
I think he wants to stick with it. He's just finding it hard at times. And so I was hoping it would be like a monthly thing, a little 8-page mini comic every month.
Yeah.
It's not working out that way. But it's fun.
I hope it gets better soon. This has been a great run so far. And this is really the first thing when you published when you came back, wasn't it? This was the first thing you came out with.
Yeah.
Was this.
Because it was easy to get that out faster than Tony and me with our Mammoth Patriot book.
Yeah.
And also,
wait a minute.
Also, I forgot Strange Times. That's the
oh my gosh, where's my copy of that?
That's the anthology where anything goes. And I'll throw out the call to anyone right now, including you two. If you want to do something in Strange Times, either on your own and I'll print it, or if you want me to write something for you, I'm game. Let's do it. Let's have fun.
I think.
Larned, you have a copy of that one? You have a copy of Strange Times?
I have a copy of it. Well,
okay.
We're back from our little break with Tom Fellrath and Steve Keeter again. So where were we when we got rudely interrupted?
The topic, the subject of Strange Times just came up.
Yep.
Where we left off, which is a really cool zine. Is that covered by Alan Groening?
Yeah.
Man, that's quite a cover.
Yeah,
that's really creepy.
he has an inventory of content on his Groening Designs Facebook page, and he just told me go find whatever I wanted. He said, get whatever you want. We'll put it in the book. And so it was like, holy cow, kid in the candy store. And so we actually had a couple other designs, and I'll admit one of them was really dumb on my part. But then I saw that one of the gas masks, and I'm thinking, I always wanted the name to be Strange Times because, there's that, it says right in the beginning, the Chinese saying, may you live in interesting times. And is that a blessing? Is it a curse? Who knows? But we certainly live in interesting times.
I was just going to say the same thing. We made it.
Yeah, we're living it. So I thought, let's go with Strange Times instead. And then I saw this picture of the gas mask on this really, kind of tranquil, gloomy type thing. And I'm like, oh, that's it. There's no other cover than that. And then I also love the one he has on the back.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great.
I don't know what that is, but that's.
I don't know either. But it's holding a balloon.
It's a sign of our strange times. But the fun thing about this particular book was, Alan, when I got back into stuff, I put out a thing somewhere on Facebook, and I said, hey, I'd like to write. I can't draw my way out of a paper bag. If anybody wants to draw, I'd love to write with them. Let's do something fun together. The only person who said that they would be willing to do something together was Alan. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I was like, show me what you got. And he shows me some of his stuff, and he's got a fun cartoony style usually. And then he also has this.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he shows that, and you got this crazy, strange story about this guy who can't stop running.
Yeah.
And there's that style on full display that you were talking about there.
Yeah. And it's a blast. It was an absolute blast to do that. And he said he wanted to do, he liked horror, he liked monsters, and he liked sci-fi. And I'm like, I can do sci-fi.
It's all there in this one book. All of that.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, now it's time for the big reveal. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but open up, Steve, you've got it in front of you. Open up to page 11.
Page 11. Okay. Let me see if I
And
can find
this is the key to the story, Run for Your Life, where this guy is running away from monsters and all this.
Page 11.
Page 11. And if you look, there is a liner right along the side of the page by the page number. Can you read that, please?
Down at the bottom?
Right where your fingers are.
Right where your finger is, along the side of the page.
Let me see. It's I got to turn
Oh,
it
you
around.
got it upside down.
Well, I was trying to read the liner. Okay, the liner is this way. It's this way.
There
And
you
it
go.
says,
Suffering
suffering.
from Pac-Man fever.
What we did was we wanted to make Pac-Man be the basis of the story. And so you've got this guy running through a maze away from ghosts, grabbing food wherever he can.
It makes sense.
And we made Pac-Man a story. And he even threw in right at the end there. Notice the cherries?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did Pac-Man.
That's
was
hilarious.
So fun.
It's so funny because I didn't notice that until you just now told me. I don't know how many people would catch that.
Yeah, I never caught it. No.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's
we've had a couple of
very
chuckles.
subtle.
We've had a couple of chuckles. We've seen some reviews about it, and they're all like, this is a great story. It's Twilight Zone. It's, that type of stuff. We're like, no, it's Pac-Man.
Twilight Zone comes to mind. Yep. Yep. That's great.
Very cool.
It's wonderful kind of. It's a great in joke. That is hilarious.
Well, and it still made a decent story even without knowing the joke. So that's the important thing.
So that was Strange Times. So you really, and this is all this stuff has happened just this year in the last few months.
Yeah.
All of these great comics, Patriot, Strange Times, the Heroic Revival, Heroic Heroes, Heroes Past.
Yep.
That's pretty cool too. You got a back cover here by Anthony Gray.
Yep.
Of The Light. And Anthony Gray is one superb artist, not just a comic artist, but also a painter and a great guy too. I like once in a while we communicate, and he's just a good guy.
He's great. He's just fantastic.
Yeah.
He actually, back in the 80s, he came and stayed at my house one night when we drove into Boston and did a show together.
Oh.
So had a chance to spend some time with him back as a teenager, and now we're getting back together.
A teenager, can you believe? How old are you? How old are you now?
I'm 51 now.
51?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm still the baby in the UFO.
You're the baby, yeah. Well, we're trying to get some younger people involved, because,
Why would you want to do that?
Why not? We need to get some youthful spirit in there, but some of us older guys have, we're pretty young at heart, so.
Absolutely.
Tom, is there anything else you might want to talk about that maybe we hadn't planned?
Well, the real big thing is that the website that I have for what I call Pheonix Productions, which
Mhm.
is actually the name of my old publishing thing back in the 80s, and I just dusted it off
Pheonix
and
Publics.
went back
Okay.
with it again. And hopefully you guys can put it maybe at the bottom, like in the comments section of
Yeah,
your
I can
YouTube.
do that.
The neat thing about Pheonix Productions website, first off, it's got my blog and all that stuff. But the thing that I love about it is that every single one of the old books, Fandom, Heroic, and then the stuff that I wrote but didn't publish, like The Light, Patriot, Tim Corrigan's Kablam. I actually, Carol
Kablam,
Corrigan
I
let
have
me
that one.
reprint. She
Mhm.
let me reprint my story. And then also the old Mass Digests, where I was working with the Massachusetts publisher.
Right. I remember those too.
All of these books are available in PDF format for free to download
Oh,
from my
wow.
website.
On your website.
On my website. I am
Okay.
not going to reprint these things. They're all available for free on my website. And while the creative stuff, my hero stories are fun and all, I really think that if you are interested in a picture of the world of small press back in the 80s, Fandom is about as good a place as any to start. And for the folks in Massachusetts especially, there were some great publishers back then. And I've got Mass Digests, and we had a jam session at one of the conventions, Mass Hysteria.
You know,
And
I don't mean
Tetragrammaton
to interrupt,
Fragments.
but you were in the UFO back in those days. And these particular issues of the UFO newsletter do have columns by you in them.
Yes. And that's another, I would think, between the likes of, if you can get your hands on an old small press comics explosion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you froze, Tom.
Uh-oh.
Oop, Tom froze.
Tom
To the
froze.
bigger small press.
Apparently cold.
Okay, are we back?
He's coming back.
You're
we go.
You're back.
Are we back? Okay.
You're back. You froze for a bit.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. All I was going to say was, if you're lucky enough to get your hands on a hard copy of these old 30-plus-year-old zines, more power to you. But a lot of people can't, and it means a lot to me, and probably to somebody like you, Steve, who's been around even longer in the world of small press stuff, to be able to go back and read this stuff and get a historical record. There really is something to it. Tim Corrigan.
There's a great history. There's a great history to this entire small press movement. It goes back before Tim Corrigan. It goes back before me. It goes way back, and it's amazing how far we've evolved as comics creators and small press creators. And it used to be just fans, but it's more than fans. It started as fans, and then it became fans who were making comics. And it's gone on and on and on, and it's been quite a fascinating ride. I'm glad I've been involved with it for like 50 some years. I mean, that's mind-boggling to me.
It is. Yeah.
And
hey, Larned.
Yeah.
Larned, I got to tell you, I was reading an old small press, or an old Tetragrammaton Fragments, the old UFO newsletter, the current UFO newsletter, but an old copy. And somewhere in one of those, it said at one point, one of the guys wrote, Fellrath, I think you're on your way to becoming the next Steve Keeter of the small press world. And I'm thinking to myself at the time, holy cow, if only I had stuck with it.
Goodness.
If only I'd stuck with it.
I wish that on anybody. This is one of your old columns, Going to Mass.
Yep.
From an issue of Tetragrammaton Fragments back in 1988.
Hey, Larned, you were talking about old publishing stuff. The old publishing software. That was my original piece of desktop publishing software. It was trash.
Nah.
But
It was good
yeah,
for
that's
the
what I
time.
use.
It was fine for the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Back
Yeah.
then. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We weren't trying to impress anybody. We were just having fun,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And,
Well, it was the best that we had at the time, you know.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it still is. We did everything on photocopiers back here. Here you are again. Here you are again, going to mass.
Oh
Looks like
no,
we're-
I was caught going to mass. Great.
So
And the column now is called "Going to Mass" in the current stuff as well. I figured let's just
I
keep that
know.
rolling as well.
it says here, you got a comment to me here. Skeeter, they called me Skeeter back in those days.
Still
Skeeter,
do.
Skeeter, not bad talking to you on the phone either. I'd forgotten that we talked on the phone.
Yeah.
Yep. He says, gosh, I'm in it for you this issue. Oh well, the letter bomb is in the mail. I don't know what we talked about, but I survived.
You guys were talking a little bit earlier about, when you first got started, that I was afraid to give people my real name and address. I got a P.O. box and I called myself Will Davis when I first started because just that reason. Is somebody going to send me a letter bomb? I don't know these people. And
I can tell you
really
something.
worried about that for a while.
Yeah.
I can tell you
I
something,
quit
Larned.
doing that.
One of the first stories I ever wrote, it was a Nightman story that I wrote. And when I first got started, it's in number 1 or number 2. I think it's in number 2. Steve Shipley illustrated it, and it's my character Nightman, but I was afraid to give out. I wasn't sure that people would like the script.
Oh.
So I invented a name. I called myself Ray Donis.
Uh-huh.
I didn't.
Adonis?
Doniss.
Oh, okay.
And even Steve Shipley didn't know who it was. I said, I have
Yeah.
this script. See, he was working for my friend Chuck Robinson, who did comic back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck says, contact this guy. Maybe he'll do something for you. So I wrote a script and I sent it to him, but I didn't give him my real name. And
My name came from, I used Will Davis, and it was Jack Davis and
Jack
Will
Davis.
Elder from Mad
Will
Magazine.
Elder, there you go.
There
Two
you
great
go.
influences.
Yeah.
Incredible artists.
Yep.
Tom, I did want to ask you about, you have this, I see pictures of you and your family all the time on Facebook, and the internet. You have a wonderful family, and the kids look exactly like you. I mean, that's for darn sure.
They're more likely to look like my wife than like
You
me.
think so?
But
They sure look like you to me. And is there any potential small press talents there? Are they interested at all in comics?
Very possible. I have 3 kids. I have a soon-to-be 13-year-old and twin 9-year-olds, and boy and girl. And my 13-year-old is off doing his own thing. He's taken the teenage route now, and he's closing his door and playing video games with his friends. But my 9-year-old daughter has taken to comics. In fact, it's interesting. She had a real rough year when she was
that's
home.
cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had a real rough year grade-wise and with her reading when she was home all year for COVID. Goes back to school, discovers graphic novels. And there's a graphic novel of the month club. It's called Hey Kids Comics. And I signed her up for it. And so every month she gets a brand new young kids graphic novel type thing. And and they have stuff in their content by Matt Feasel. Who does Cynical Man. He always puts a piece in there, maybe like a bookmark or something like that. Yeah, it's one of his side gigs. But anyway, so my daughter actually, she's drawn Superman.
Oh, that's cool.
Spider-Man, and she did Venom or Carnage or whoever.
That looks like
I was really impressed.
Carnage.
her Superman is pretty
Beautiful.
solid.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For a 9-year-old, she's
Very good.
following the thing. I mean, did you see here? She's got, you can see the cross marks for the face, to get your nose in the right spot.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Your
She's
distance
got
on
the
the eyes.
spit pearl.
Yeah.
That's
She's pretty good.
Superman.
She's pretty good, and she loves reading comics. And I've taken her to a couple shows, and she's much more interested in getting the toys right now. But she
Understandably.
Well, I mean, when you're 9 years old, going through a bunch of long boxes, to get that single missing copy of New Teen Titans for a quarter,
Right.
that doesn't excite them.
Yeah.
But she really does like doing comics, and she loves talking about comics. And you can see, I've kind of got a few graphic novels myself.
Yeah.
She loves to come down here and look, and of course I'm biting my lip saying, please don't read that one. Don't read that one. It's not for you. Go read Wonder Woman. It's fantastic. So she's a huge Wonder Woman fan. She really likes the Japanese animation, which I don't understand.
Yeah.
Manga. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she loves the manga. I don't get the manga.
I don't either.
I love that too.
I mean, I've read my Scott McCloud. I understand it's a different style of doing comics, very visceral, lots of high action type stuff, and I get all that. And I guess I'm just old. You give me an Alan Moore story or a Frank Miller story,
Yeah.
or these days Tom King. He's really good at times. And I've drawn from all three of those guys heavily in the stuff that I write. And so, that's the stuff that I read. But my daughter, she loves comics, and she's reading stuff, and it just makes me happy to see her do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hopefully she'll get to be in some edition of Strange Times or
There you
Heroes
go.
Now or something like that.
Sure.
There's just one more thing I wanted to ask you, Tom.
Yep.
Did you get this?
I did. I did. Are we reviewing?
Are we reviewing that?
Oh, let's
Are
say
we
something
reviewing
about
Candid
this before we
cartoons?
get to the show, because I really wanted to find a place to say something about this. This comes from the talented Larned Justin.
Oh.
Candid Cartoons presents The Sea. Did you read it?
I did. And I will tell you, before you hopped on the call, Larned and I had a conversation about this. So I'd like to offer a little historical feedback, a little knowledge. And Larned put in the back of it, he had a character in here called the Mole. Okay.
Right.
He's the bad guy in this. And in the back of the book, there is a page here saying the Mole from Mad Magazine in 1953.
I was curious about that myself.
Yeah.
And so, Larned, you apparently resurrected the character for your book, and you did a nice impression of it too.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
Well, that's a great comic.
So
it's really funny. The mayor in this story goes through hell. He keeps falling through I guess it's the mayor, right?
Well, he keeps falling through the mole holes.
He's falling through the mole holes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mentioned this to Tom earlier that we should say something about this, just to kind of surprise you. Because it's really a great comic, and I really did want to find time to, to just say something about it. But you really did a fantastic job, Larned. And
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and apparently
it's based on a cat that I have, and I did numerous 3-4 panel cartoons of a cartoonist and a cat. And the cat always knows everything. He knows more about everything than anybody else, and especially me. He's always telling me that I'm doing something wrong or something like that. But anyway, I came up with this thought of, well, let's make him a superhero and see what we could do with that.
So he becomes a superhero, and he goes after the mayor, and makes all the wrong assumptions. Aha, a fake mustache. and it's not a fake mustache, and the mayor's not too happy about it.
Yeah, hold on, the
Right
mayor,
before he starts
real
falling into the
mistake.
holes.
Yeah, that was a mistake that he did
So,
that.
Larned, this was, did I see 2017 on this?
Yeah,
Okay, so this is
quite
a
a while
few
ago, but
years old.
just republished it
The
because I
thing I
had.
really,
I
the
didn't
thing I
realize
liked
that. I
about,
thought this was your new comic, Larned. I
No,
didn't know.
I republished it. I redid it. Yeah,
This time it's spiral bound.
yeah,
which
yeah.
is nice,
yeah.
very nice. It's
Makes
a
it
nice,
easy to
clean
do
look.
comics.
And I can see continuing adventures because this of this particular character. I mean, this is great. I mean, he's in therapy.
I may do
you
something
know?
like that. I got a couple other ones that I have that are old that I spiral bound like that just recently.
That's really cool.
Great to see. I think doing this show and everything, and the inspiration that we're you know, how long have we been doing this now? How many
So
episodes?
this is 17. This is 17th
17
episode.
episodes
Yeah.
for the last few months. It's
Yeah.
Inspired me. It's
Yeah, me too.
It's made
yeah.
me want to
Me.
produce more.
When you
do
see
more
what's
content.
out there, like what Tom is doing, you can't help but get inspired and want to try and do it, again.
Well, see what Tom is doing. I mean, Tom, he vanished for a long time. Then he came out of nowhere with
Yeah.
like the most spectacular comeback of almost anybody I've seen. For like 25, 30 years, all of a sudden he pops
All of
back
a
up
sudden, boom.
better than ever. And it's been a real pleasure to talk with you, Tom. Seriously.
Yeah, I
Guys,
really
this
enjoyed it.
has.
This
Really
has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. By the way, I got to take the dog out, so we do have to leave.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Thanks again.